What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast. We talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and I'm your host, and I'm also joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? I switched up the intro for some reason. I don't know why. And we have two special guests. So we have Ieshea Hollins. She is a trailblazer when it comes to digital forensics, as well as she's the CEO and founder of Direnzic Technology. And then we have Miguel Clarke. He is a retired FBI agent, as well as a senior GRC evangelist. And together, they are working on a podcast that we will talk about in more detail in this episode, calling it the Make It Make Sense podcast. So the IT being information technology. So making it make sense podcast. So we wanted to highlight them, showcase them, because they are our friends in this podcasting space, as well as there's definitely some people that you need to listen to, right? So you need to sub as soon as this thing goes live. So I like to kind of expound upon that. So like Aisha's been on plenty of times, so it goes as much detail as you want to about yourself and your background. And then we also want to capture Miguel and his background, and then how all that ties together to making the podcast, the Making It Make Sense podcast. So I give it to you, Ieshea.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Shannon, so much for having me back on. It's always a pleasure to be here with you guys. Yes, a little bit about myself. I am the founder and CEO of Direnzic Technology, and we handle digital forensics, cybersecurity, all that stuff, right? And so when I started my organization 15 years ago, right, one of the things that I would get all the time was, you do what, and what? Right? We don't understand what is digital forensics, what is cybersecurity, what do we do with the data, right? How does it work? And so oftentimes I would, I'm out and I'm about and I'm, meeting with various clients. And so you're always trying to either sell a product or sell a service, right? It's a consulting service. But the thing that I began to learn really, really quickly is that people don't get what they don't get. Right? You don't buy things you don't understand. Cybersecurity, internet safety, it all falls in that bucket, right? And so one of the things that would just drive me insane would be, I would be talking about identity theft, right? And you would always get that, oh my gosh, they can hack me, right? When they break into my account, I'm only gonna have $10 there, so maybe they'll feel sorry for me, hack my account, put money in it, And so I would get that all the time. And it was like, Ieshea, hold your face. Ieshea, hold your face, right? And so, and then I would go into my training and I would teach or whatever, and, try to get people to get it, right? I need you to understand. I can't be out here just giving awareness and education all the time, and you don't understand what it is I do and why it's important. So I came up with a concept of a podcast, right, called Making It, the IT being information technology. Let's make it make sense, right? So the thing about me is I'm a storyteller, right? I think that if we can put things in terms of stories where they make sense, right, where they could be relatable. But number 2 or 3, because I don't know, I'm hiding my hands, right? You should see you in every story. So my goal was, let's tell some really good, intriguing stories. Let's tell you what can happen when your data is leaked or breached, or let's tell you some of the things that we've seen working out in the field and whatnot. And so he said, don't alley-oop, but so I'm out and about one day. I'm out and I'm about, and I literally attended a seminar that had the FBI. They were there and they were speaking. And of course, there were other people on the panel. And then there's Miguel. He is his own his own brand, right? And there was the way that we were hearing about some of the things that was going on. And then Miguel's style is very storyteller-ish. He's like, hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you a couple of things, right? And so the way he delivered on his information. So what I'll do is at this point, I'll give it over to Miguel and he can talk to you a little bit about why I was very intrigued with my conversation with Miguel.
All right. Well, I can't answer why you were intrigued. That's something that only you can say.
Yes.
But I will say that we had a great conversation. We're talking about cybersecurity. I was there with a guy that I used to work with. They actually used to work for me when I was supervisor of a cyber squad handling the national security computer intrusions in the FBI. And we were asked to come out, do a breakfast meeting and talk about cybersecurity and just really make it plain for the business leaders who were there. So a word about me, Miguel Clarke. I was with the FBI for almost 24 years. In that time, I worked a lot of computer intrusions. I did work some counterterrorism, worked on the September 11th investigation, did some leadership training. Like there's a bunch of stuff in there. And I don't want to take up time just talking a lot about that. I want to keep it focused to what we're talking about here. And a passion of mine is sharing information. Anybody's ever met me knows I love to share information. It's usually random. And trying to take cybersecurity out of the technical and the geek realm, and then really break it down to something that's basic that anybody and everybody can get. Because I think in cybersecurity, we have folks that like to talk the tech. Right. I mean, that is the way that we measure ourselves against one another. Right. It's like, okay, it's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about when you start talking about ports and protocols. But then it leaves out, I think, a lot of really sharp folks that aren't technically inclined, but are still really, still pretty intelligent, and leaves them out of the conversation. So how do we expand that conversation into something where more voices can be heard? And you can call that inclusivity, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but having a diversity of thought on the problem, because you start thinking about the problems right now, and I think these are things that we're going to get into on the IT side of the house in the podcast. There are billions of dollars being spent in technology and training. And I'll put it out and you guys can nod, or shake your head. Do you feel any more safe now knowing that, that these technologies are out there than you did 2 years ago? Do you say wow, 2023, I feel so much safer. They introduced $1 billion worth of new technology. No, for the most part, the answer is no. People don't feel any safer because the adversaries are advancing faster than the technology, right? It's an arms race. So if the technology isn't going to save us, then what's going to save us? And my personal view is that it's going to be behavior. It's the same as everything else, right? If somebody tells you a bad thing's going to happen at the corner of walk and don't walk, guess what? You don't go there. Right? It's real simple. So how do we take cybersecurity out of the buy this technology into the, figure out where not to go, what not to do, or how do you be prepared when you get to that corner of walk and don't walk, or look and don't look? And, so, okay, now I have to be here. So how can I be here and represent in the way that is the safest? And so I work for a company called Armored Defense, and I am a GRC and cybersecurity evangelist. And so the evangelism piece is doing exactly what it is that I'm doing here, except not on Sundays.
Got you. So with that being said, I'm super excited to sub myself. I think this is gonna be an amazing podcast just based upon you guys' backgrounds alone, right? And then your ability to tell a story to I know Ieshea has a contribution to a book that's kind of like a scary stories of cybersecurity type situation, right? So you guys are really good at to be truthful, but then make it palatable to people. So when it comes to your podcast, is it going to be kind of like long form, or is it going to be episodes? How do you think it's going to be built out for the viewers?
If you haven't met Miguel, it can't help but be long form.
That's fired.
I had to catch up. You guys started before my brain.
Right. The offline conversation.
Back, right? We're gonna do episodes, and so the thing is, one thing about Miguel and I, we have a really good repertoire when we talk, right? So it's a really interactive conversation, and so for us, what we have planned right now is we're just gonna kind of record. We're gonna break them up into episodes. We're gonna leave those little teasers at the end to hope to make you come back for the next week. He's gonna be here with me for a little while. we're gonna can a few of them, right? We've kind of talked about it, but I do know that, and I'm so very pleased to have him come aboard, because one of the things that I don't want to do, right? As I said, digital forensics, cybersecurity, we're still going what, and what, right? We don't want to use that verbiage, right? How do we make stories relatable, right? But I don't also want to, it's not about telling you a bunch of stuff that it's a really good story and it doesn't, I'm scared, but I don't know where to go, right? So we want to give you a story, but we want to give you resources, right? And so that does require that there's going to be times that we're having conversations that is like to be continued, right? That's not a shot fired. He is a wealth of information. We enjoy conversations with ourselves.
True.
So we don't know what we sound like on the outside, but so far we've been having fun.
That we have.
And you know something, like the way you're describing it, it's a disguised education is what I would say, right? So like you're giving stories, which everybody loves to hear a story, right? Especially when they think it's relatable to them, because that's kind of how it is in the world today, right? Like, what does it do for me, right? Like, I don't care about anybody else. What does it do for me? But you're giving them an education without coming out and saying, hey, here's your synopsis, you know what I mean? Here's where this is, and here's your conclusion, right? Like, and people need that, right? No, that's not a guarantee that people are always going to listen. I'm gonna tell you that. I'll tell you that from experience. It's not a guarantee people are going to listen, right? You're still going to have those knuckleheads that are going to do whatever. But like, but I love my Alexa. I need all 6 of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just how it is, right? Some people are like, I love the convenience of it. I don't care what it's going to cost me, right? Or they're to a point where it's like, my information's been out there because I've been with CVS, Target, T-Mobile,
Home Depot.
Home Depot, yeah.
Right.
Like my stuff has been out there for so many times. You know what I mean? I've gotten LifeLock offered to me 10 times in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? From being a customer at all these different places. But no, this sounds pretty fun. And again, the disguised education portion of it is what makes it to where it is going to be a great tool for people going forward, right? Because you can't get people to sit down in a classroom and just teach them, hey, this is what cybersecurity is. Like you were talking about, Ieshea, like you can't talk to them about something they don't really care about, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's in their everyday life.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand how intertwined they are with their technology. And we kind of alluded that in the last episode, right? When we talk about people receiving smartwatches that from whom? Who sent you the smartwatch, right? Yeah. Was it a nation state? Was it Mark Zuckerberg? Like, who sent you this thing? He wouldn't send you Apple Watch. And I think that common sense, so to speak, kind of goes out the window. So it is good to have something that's relatable, something that they can actually understand, because you'll bring up stuff to people and they're like, I never thought about it that way. So that's the audience that you're targeting, right? And the conversation you're trying to have with them. So I think it's going to be amazing, actually. Like I'm super excited. So that leads me to ask you the question: do we have a time frame?
Our goal was to have them out by the fall. That was that is our goal. But it was really important to us that we got together, sat down, and just did the recording. We wanted to make sure that we had them all, had them canned, and so that we knew, right? What's next, right? What do we tackle? Have we talked about it? So he and I, we've been in the planning phase, we've been in the talking phase, we've been in the mixing it up, but our goal is definitely by the fall, right? I got to catch Miguel, shots fired, before he goes back out the country. So Miguel is talking, he's all over. He's just back from, where were you, sir? London? I don't know.
I was in the UK.
I knew he was somewhere. So I got to catch him before he travels on me again. But the fall is the answer. I'm sorry.
All these shots being fired, man. It's supposed to be friendly.
Right.
It is really fire.
That's exactly what it is.
Right. What is that? Fratricide.
It's fratricide.
So, I mean, what's cool though is with technology, like if you wanted to do something that was international, you still could, right? And we've gone through those growing pains as well, where like I'm in Turkey and everybody else is East Coast, or I'm sorry, not even East Coast, Turkey, Central, West Coast. That was the makeup between me, Shannon, and Levon when we started.
Hey, Mountain.
Oh, Mountain. I'm sorry. My apologies. I always forget about Mountain Time. I lived in Mountain Home, which was in Mountain Time.
No, it was some Central in there, Shannon. There was some days he had me up in there
That's
too.
true. That is true. Yes, yes, yeah. You're right. You're
the
right.
whole spectrum of the timeline, right? But so yeah, technology can help you to get over those hurdles or whatever. But what I think is smart though is that you do have, you like you say, you putting something in the can. I never got there, and I still need to. Because me and Shannon will take a holiday break, and then you'll just be without for a week. And I don't think that's fair to the listener, right? So it is good to have something where you can push it out, say, hey, even though we need to recharge our batteries, here's something that we have in the works. And with that being said, I'm kind of thinking that may be my interview ones. We may start to push those as opposed to giving you one Monday through Friday some weeks. Keep it Monday through Wednesday and a Friday. In those Thursday episodes, I might start to save those. But that goes into interviews, like you guys have on people who you're going to interview and ask questions, things of that nature in the future, right? You get people, the audience has to get to know you, but after
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes, that is the goal, is to continue the conversation even beyond the breadth of what we know, right? It's not about, hey, this is this is Ieshea, and this is Miguel, or this is former FBI, and this is digital forensic Ieshea, right? No, the whole goal is IT spans so broad, right? And that's why I said making it make sense, right? We don't just want to stop at just the areas that we're good at. So we want to tell all those stories, right? So we're going to be inviting guests. Like as I said before, we're going to look to have you and Shannon on, right? Our goal is to, because there's so many of us in this space, right? And there's so many different ways that this conversation can happen. But we want to know some of the things that we're going to miss because we're noobs on the scene, right? What are the vets saying out there? How can we do it better, right? And that's relationally, everywhere, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's good to have that crossover, right? So like for me and Shannon, we have the Air Force background, we're IT guys, cyber guys. But then I lean on Shannon hard for all of the information he brings from the ISO side, like the things that I just was not tracking. After, like, so I was still in the military, he had retired. He brought a lot of that to the table. Levon brought a lot of the architecture and things like that to the table. The working for, we try to stay away from the names of companies that we work for, but working for a large entity, $1 trillion company, you figure out which one that is, right? And then Shannon being in the government space as well. So I can see the overlap with you guys when it comes to like forensic things of that nature. But I think it's going to be very cool to have that. Miguel having the law enforcement background, you have Ieshea the pioneering in forensics, the training, as well as the business side of the house, right? Like that, none of us have that under our belt, being the founder and CEO of a business, and how does that thrive and how does that make sense? No pun intended, to providing services to people. Like you just had the symposium not too long ago, so you have that side of the house as well, right? Like you guys are leading in that forum, so to speak, I guess you could say, when it comes to, like, I know you have the Monroe side of the house, you have the Dallas side of the house. So like, I'm not trying to, these aren't plugs, this is me fanboying up when it comes to what you guys are doing out there, right? And then as you can see in, I would say, the Monday episode, we kind of go into more of the law enforcement. You have Miguel, throwing out all those good tidbits of information when it comes to, this is what the post office does when it comes to cyber, this is what the search warrant was issued, this is like the background of the person. We already had them, or he didn't say we because he's not in that space. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he knows. I don't know if he still has those connections or what have you, but I think that'll be intriguing to have that conversation. So yeah, definitely want to have you guys back on the show as well to kind of talk that up. So you said it'll be long form, it'll be episodes. It's going to be like once a week, or how are you guys thinking about pushing it out? Once a month?
The goal right now is once a month.
Okay.
But again, we don't have enough of a feel from our audience yet. We might put them out and they're biting at the bit for, like, what was the last thing Miguel said? Because you guys, seriously, he has these mic drop moments where everybody stops and just is like, did he say what I thought I heard him say, right? So it may be that they're, but right now the goal is once a month, and we'll get that feel from the
Gotcha.
audience and see.
No, that's great. That's a great cadence, right? That's something you can definitely keep up with in the
Right.
future, and then you can break down into seasons, which I'm just starting to do. So we're in season 2 now.
Yeah.
I think this is episode 399, so this is the penultimate episode before episode 400. So you guys will be on for that one.
Nice.
But our cadence is a little bit quicker because our episodes are a little bit shorter, right? So that's the difference you can say. But to have a long form once a month podcast, that's gonna be something special. Where so I don't want to get too far ahead, right? Where do you see, I would say, a season 1 taking you? Like, will there be kind of a theme where you guys going to go off of the latest topics, or
Current
are you going to
events.
have like a backlog of stories that you want to introduce to the audience? Like, what are you thinking?
Right now, I'm thinking a backlog of stories.
Okay.
Right now, I'm thinking a and we'll see how that goes. Again, there's a dynamic when Miguel and I get together. So it's not that we don't stay on topic, but some of our topics really do breed into other things, right? And they only make sense to finish them out. It's not fair to kind of bring them up and just kind of leave you hanging. And so there's, and I love, like I said, the way his mind works, but mine is the same, right? It's like, there's a way that we kind of follow each other, right? There's times that I take the lead, there's times he takes the lead, right? That disciplined mindset. I love that about some of the things that Miguel will kick out. And so our goal is to definitely tell some of those stories, though. That for me, season 1, that's what I want to do. I don't really want to get into a whole lot of various things, but they have to be relatable. Right? They have to go back to fixing some particular issue. We're not telling stories to tell stories. We're not getting together just to laugh in each other's face, though you may laugh, though we may have a good time, right? The end goal is, by the time we were done, who do we help make better? And so initially, some of our stories, some of the things that we've done so far is it is kind of business related. There are stories there. There are, what should I do as a business owner? But we're not just stuck right there either. There are some stories that are relatable just to the human being. How do I stay safe? Right?
Yeah, that's the main part, is just how do you stay safe and defining what that is. So we start to think of what does better look like. And we haven't had that conversation really, when you say, oh, let's get better. Well, better than what? And how do I know good is good? And from my perspective, when I'm out and I'm doing other types of public speaking, whether with the company or because of my past FBI experience, there is a Venn diagram, and you kind of see these 3 intertwining circles where skill set, mindset, and tool set all intersect. And then in the middle, you have resilience. Right? Because you can't have resilience without the right mindset and without having skills that you practice. And then professionals have tools. So then you start to think about, what does that look like? And, I've got 2 Air Force folks that are on here. So I know that, Air Force has like their special forces folks that they have that are out there. So when the other folks get in trouble, they call the Air Force. A lot of people don't know that, right? So if they need a rescue, the Air Force is the one that they're going to call. So you have this special force. And if you look at the way that they operate, the way that they think, the way they approach problems, it is a combination of skill set, mindset, and tool set, with mindset probably being the most influential one, the one that gives them the drive to accomplish whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish, whatever difficult thing there is that they're trying to accomplish. So that's what we really want to start to get people into, that right mindset from a safety standpoint, because safety is really a mindset. Security is a mindset. And, you start to think about what conflicts look like. Whenever you see a crime, you typically will see a bad actor, and then you'll see a victim, right? Now, for many of us on this call, if there was a conflict that broke out and we did okay in that conflict, we wouldn't see ourselves as victims. And why is that? Because we have a skill set, we have some training, we have some preparation, we've got a mindset that says, I'm not going to be a victim today, right? I'm going to be a combatant. So a thing happened, And then these combatants fought, somebody messed around, and then somebody found out. Right. So this is what we're trying to bring, that same kind of smoke, that same kind of energy, because anybody can have it. That is not proprietary to people with a cyber background.
So I have a question for you too then. So because I'm 100% sure you're going to come across this. You're going to come across people, and you don't know unless they write into you or notify you somehow, that are not going to want to do the types of things to keep themselves safe because it may not be convenient, right? Because that's what you're dealing with a lot of the time, is people love the convenience of having, the phone do this, Alexa do this, or whatever. Have you thought about a way to kind of project the message that, hey, I realize this may suck for you, but this is where it's going to be better for you by this, that, and the third? Or is the story itself just going to play that out? You understand what I'm saying?
I do. So for me, maybe it's the former FBI agent in me. It doesn't matter to me what you do, right? I want you to have, well, as my dad would say, my father would say that there's some people who learn from example and some people who are born to be an example, right? And not everybody wants to be great. And if you don't want to be great, that's fine, right? We need people who are going to be good. And greatness is great because of the backdrop of good and not good. Right. Otherwise, if everybody was the same, then how would you know what great looks like? So I'm not really concerned about whether people take what we do and do better with that. What I want them to be is informed so that they can take those risks from an informed standpoint. So these are the risks. This is what's at stake. This is what can happen. And so then now you're looking at this risk willingly. So when it happens, you're like, yeah, you know what? I thought Miguel was crazy when he said that, and I thought Ieshea was off her rocker. But no, they were absolutely right. And so here I am, and I am now the example when it comes to that. So anything other than that, I think we get too emotionally involved in an outcome. And then I think that we can start to over-rotate on a particular topic when we're really focused on the outcome. The information's good, helping people understand what their risks are so they can make better informed decisions, but it's always going to be their decision to make.
No, that's a great answer. So to kind of surmise everything, right? So you have two experts in their fields, two people of color. So like that's what the platform is for, right? Highlighting and showcasing people who look like us, who are in the industry, and we only make up a small percentage of that, and we're trying to grow it out to an audience that's chomping at the bit, right? Like we want to get into cyber, we want to grow our careers. And then you have these two wonderful people who will have a podcast that'll entertain, educate, from law enforcement through business, and then somewhere in the middle they're meeting with IT and forensics and all the full spectrum of the of everything that is cybersecurity, right? Policy, all that stuff's in there, and training. But to make it entertaining, to make it palatable to the audience, and then hopefully get some more people who are crazy like us, right? Who can see like may not want to wear a free smartwatch, right? You don't know what's that going to do. You may not want to have 6 Alexas in your house. I have one. I'm not gonna lie, but but I watch it. I watch it like a hawk. But you'll have these engaging conversations, and then hopefully it'll lead people to just think a little bit more vigilant about what they're allowing in their homes and in their workplaces and all the above, right? Like what is technology doing for me? How do I utilize and how to protect myself against it is kind of the goal. So I think that's awesome. I cannot wait to listen to Making It Make Sense. When it does debut, I will be chomping at the bit for it. I will continue to prod you guys with questions until I force you to drop the first episode. And then when that happens, I will make sure that I promote it as much as humanly possible on the platforms that we are currently on. So thank you for your time. Everybody continue to tune in to the podcast. We have one more episode with them. So definitely listen to Friday's episode, which is everything else. Hit us all up by our websites that go by our particular platforms' names. There's all in the bio. You can hit me up personally. I'm at Ryan Security Guy on various platforms. And you, Ieshea, where can people find you?
You can find me on all the social media platforms, inclusive of YouTube at either at Direnzic and at Ieshea Speaks.
There it is. And you, Miguel?
The same place you can find every other FBI agent or retired FBI agent on LinkedIn, and that's pretty much it. So Miguel Clarke on LinkedIn.
There it is. So definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Stay safe, stay secure.